about probably close to half an hour of city street driving to get from Pico to Pacific Palisades. But it's maybe what, 10 miles, 15, 16 kilometers, something like that. Uh,
So not affected in the valley or in
well,
Pico.
everybody's affected because of air quality. The highways um, and the schools are all closed. So everybody is affected, but no one's direct. The frum communities are not directly affected, right? Okay. So yesterday we were looking at this tshuva about whether or not you're allowed to do business with the shul's aliyah. Can you make a profit off of it? Just give me 1 second. And so our conclusion was, um, let's see, what was our conclusion? Rav Sharaga was of the opinion that they should split it. So the only ambiguous part of this din of splitting, what do they split? In other words, the guy bid 100 shekels, and the rich American came in and bid 1,000 shekels. So Rav Sharaga says, let them split it. So what does that mean? Split the difference? It would seem that that would make the most sense. Split the difference. In other words, split the 900. That the shul gets 450 and he gets 450, but he would probably still have to pay the 100. Although it could be that he doesn't have to pay the 400, the 100, because he's basically has sold it. So okay, so we have still a little bit of ambiguity, but that's the psak, and it seems like this machlokas as to whether you're permitted to enterprise on the shul's money is a machlokas. Let's say the rich American gives his donation to the shul, and and then the guy who bought the aliyah says, "I have a taina." Well, remember, we saw in the Sefer Olas Tamid that you're not permitted to profit off of a shul's operations, the shul's regular religious operations. Kevin she'ein osim asakim urevachim al cheshbon beit hakneset. You're not allowed to profit off of the efforts of the synagogue, right? So if that's the case, then we would submit that the shul could basically say, we paskin like the Olas Tamid and not like the Knesset Hagdola. So if you want, take us to a din Torah, but otherwise we're digging in our heels. And a shul would be within its rights to do that. Remember, let's just remember that. Now, it might be that they wouldn't want to do that because the guy who bid 100 shekels for Shishi does so every Shabbos. And so it might not be in their interests to do so. But nonetheless, when you deal with a machlokus like this, hamotzi mechavero olav haraya, whoever wishes to extract the cash has to bring proof that he's correct halachically. And so the shul would certainly be within its halachic rights to deny the person the claim of splitting it in half. Okay, next shaila. And remember, we have to finish 5 minutes early today because I think davening is at 6:39. Haim mutar litvos makom lechavero al cheshbon acherim. Are you allowed to hold a place for your friend when it creates liability for others? Oh, he's sitting here. He's coming back. Okay, so are you allowed to do that al pi halacha if the place is crowded and people are waiting to come in? So anilo made be yeshiva. So this is presented by a yeshiva bacher. I study in yeshiva. Uchiyadua yesh harbe bachurim sherotzim litfos makom becheder hashiurim kama shioter karov l'rosh yeshiva shemoseret hashiur. And this is a big yeshiva. Say it's Panovich or Mir, and there's a lot of guys in the shir. It's the Rosh Yeshiva shir. And there's a big thing that the closer you are to the Rosh Yeshiva, the better the seat is. Okay. Ha'im mutar li litvos makom tov gam avor chaveri, kidei shegam hu yishma yoter tov et hashiur. Am I allowed to reserve a chair for my friend closer to the Rosh Yeshiva so that he can hear the shir much better? O she'ein lasos kain kevin shezeh mafsidis bachurim ha'acherim shegam rotzim litvos es hamakom hanal. Or is there a halachic reason that I should not be doing that because I'm depriving the other guys who are coming to the shir to have a place to sit close? What say you?
What would be the problem with it? Like, what is the Avera?
Well, the Avera is that you're so we have to sort of think it through. And I'm Rav Shiraga because he has such a knowledge of Shas. I'm sure he'll be able to give us a comparable case. But basically, it's chav la'acherim. In other words, you can't be zoche from hefker in a case where it creates liability for others. You can only be zoche. There's a Gemara that talks about acquiring something from hefker on behalf of somebody else. We have a principle, zachin la'adam shelo b'fanav. You can create a zechut, a legal asset for somebody else by acquiring something on their behalf when in that person's absence, but not when it's chav la'acherim, not when it creates a liability for other people. And so I think that's the issue. Certainly there's definitely, like when you think about it, there's definitely an ethical dilemma here. The ethical dilemma is, I want my friend to have a good seat. Or let's say, I mean, there could be, can you think of other scenarios? Let's say I'm on a bus or on a train and there's limited seats and half the people have to stand and half the people will be able to sit.
Seats at a movie theater.
Or seats at a movie theater.
Or a concert.
Or at a concert.
Yeah.
Well, when there's
Assigned seating is different.
where assigned seating is different. When it's open seating, is it right for me to say, all of this whole row is taken because I have my
friends are coming.
all my friends are coming. Yeah.
I'd say it's wrong.
It's completely wrong.
I'd say that you're not allowed.
Okay, but on the other hand, what if they're just outside getting popcorn and
If they already sat down,
Juju's.
just went out to go to the bathroom, something like that, and it's open, that's
That's
already
different.
there.
Okay. But what if we already came into the theater? They said we're going to go to the concession stand and get popcorn and Juju's.
Yeah, you're gonna get seats.
And you go get the seats. So what do you say? What is right? What is not right? And I want to reserve like mamish the middle, in the middle and the middle rows and the best seats possible. And now the movie theaters, I discovered, they actually assign a premium to those. You have to you can pay more if you want to reserve those middle seats. What?
How do you know that?
I read about it. I read about it. You want to know the MS? It's because when I take my kids to a Disney movie or one of
They
these,
assign the seat.
you have the ability.
Yeah.
You can buy a general admission ticket, or you can actually now reserve like the middle seats. Yeah, and you pay a little bit more.
No lines, no nothing, just go in.
Go online on Promenade and you see your seat.
Yeah.
Well, same thing holds with parking spots too. So your friends behind you and you take the parking spot and then you say to everybody, don't come in here. This is for my
You
friend.
stand there, you
Right, stand there, whatever, have your wife stand there, whatever, and go in and.
I've seen fights.
That's not right either.
Okay, Marv, I see that this is riling you up. This is something must have happened. Okay, so
Traumatic experience.
so what would you say? I want to reserve a seat for my chaver, and he just ran to the bathroom.
It's like you mentioned in shul, you cannot save a seat in shul for davening, even if it's your regular seat.
Even though it's your makam
Your
kavua.
regular seat, but it's empty.
But this is the issue, is like, at what point can someone say, I'm sorry, but you're in my seat? Is it sometimes warranted? Is it sometimes unwarranted? Is it ever warranted? My makom kavua. Yeah. There's even a halacha that you're supposed to try and have a makom kavua where you daven. So can I use that as an argument? Here, that's not the argument, right? Because there's no such thing as a makom kavua for sheer, unless maybe we'll be shown something that I'm not aware of. But what about a makom kavua for tefillah? So we created a policy that I'm not aware that is based on halacha, that we want to try and make people who visit feel welcome. And so there, even though we got an earful the other day about how people don't feel welcome here, but nonetheless, we have a policy. You can't kick someone out of your seat just because it's the place where you regularly pray. And the whole argument of makom kavua is not valid, because as long as you can find a seat within Dalet Amos, which is about it's about two meters from that is proximal to where you normally pray, you are in your makom kavua.
What is
Okay.
the concept of makom? What's the difference if you put here?
So I think the Gemara finds a source in one of the Sifrei Nevi'im. I don't remember offhand, but there's a concept of not being haphazard about how you daven. Like, in other words, just like you put on a jacket and you put on a hat, you're supposed to have a respectful attitude towards tefillah so that you designate, this is my place for prayer. Okay, it's a sort of a sign of derech eretz to the prayer service.
But is the place that seat or is it the little area?
So it's within, so that's what I'm
Yeah.
saying, it's within a 2 meter radius.
Well,
That-
okay, it's just that seat.
Right, people think it's just that seat. So that was our argument, to deflect that and to let visitors feel welcome by not kicking them out of your seat.
And now if we want, we're talking about selling seats in the shul to raise as a fundraiser.
Right,
Don't worry, guys, it's not gonna happen. Right, and so that's your seat, you paid for it.
right.
So how does that?
I just sent you a WhatsApp video. It's about 30 seconds. You might want to play it.
Okay, Izzy, let's look for it.
What's that one here?
It's on the
Yes.
Choshen, but
Yes, I can. Hold on. It's coming through. Just give it a minute, because it takes a moment to load. All right, we'll give it a moment because it takes a moment to load. So what do you think? Do you think it's
I think it's problematic.
well, if the person was there, they could leave their jacket or a hat or something. But if they were never there, and you walk into Charlotte Shooters, and half the row is the chairs are bent over.
Well, I think that's an accepted norm. If you put your jacket on, you state your claim.
But that's if you're there and you go out to the bathroom or something.
yeah, and what if it's
there,
not my
you have
jacket,
your
but what
friend
if it's
take-
somebody
yeah, go-
else's
I'll go to
jacket?
the get the jujubes and you take care of that.
Oh,
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah,
I'm doing a little social experiment, like a survey. Can I ask you a question?
yeah, sure, go ahead.
So if you were on a bus and a woman gets on and there's no available seats, would you give up your seat?
No,
Well, what if the lady was pregnant? Then would you?
no, not even then.
What if it was an elderly woman? I would hope you would then.
No,
That's terrible. You are a very selfish, inconsiderate man, aren't you?
no, ma'am. I'm the bus driver.
okay. All right, thank you,
We
Izzy.
needed that before fast.
Izzy, thank you for that contribution.
No
Okay,
problem.
all right. Let's take a look. Let's learn a little Torah now. Gemara Omeres b'Maseches Bava Metzia. So the Gemara in Bava Metzia tells us the following: Hatofes leba'al choiv b'makom shechav la'acherim lo kana. This was the Gemara that I was alluding to. If a person takes hold of something for another person, he wants to be zoche on behalf of another person, but it creates liability for another person. Kagon, im Reuven chayev kesef l'Shimon v'Levi. Reuven is a debtor. He owes money to both Shimon and Levi. Ve'ein l'Reuven l'shalim l'shneihem rak le'echad mehem. but Reuven only has $100 and he owes 100 each to Shimon and Levi. Uba Yehuda v'tafas mi Reuven kesef avor Shimon. So Yehuda comes along and says, I'm here to collect the debt for Shimon. I'm going to take that $100 that you put on the table. I'm giving it to Shimon. Hatfisa shelo lo mo'ila. His taking hold of that money is ineffective. Kevin shuhu gorem hefse l'Levi. Because by doing that, while he's creating an asset for Shimon, he's creating a liability for the other creditor, Levi. Kevin shelo yishar l'Levi me'efo legabot et chovo. Because there's nothing left for Levi to collect his debt. Vim Shimon asa et Yehuda shaliach. Now, so that's if Yehuda comes on his own accord, right, and says, Shimon is my friend. I know that he's owed this money. I'm going to take it for him. What if Shimon formally appoints Yehuda his shaliach? Lidas Rashi sham oto shaliach yachol litvos lo. According to Rashi, then because I'm acting as the shaliach, then it's as if Shimon is here. And therefore, just like Shimon could easily collect the money that's owed to him, even though it's creating a liability for Levi, he's certainly within his halachic rights, because Shimon could basically say, that's not my problem. You owe me $100, give me the $100. I'm here to collect my debt. The $100 is right there on the table. I'm taking it. Okay? However, Tosfos, the Rush, and other poskim feel that there's no difference halachically whether Yehuda was appointed a shaliach or he's coming of his own accord. In both situations, if Yehuda were to take hold of something to the exclusion of others, that creates a liability for others, and it's not on his own behalf, but it's on behalf of another person, his action is ineffective halachically. The kach pasak moran b'Shulchan Aruch, and that's the psak of the Shulchan Aruch. Lefizeh, accordingly, im adam tofes makom biyeshiva lebachur acher. So a guy reserves a seat for his chaver in the Rosh Yeshiva shir. Okay, zen nikra chavla acherim. That's called a liability for other people. Sharatzu lashevet b'makom hahu, who want to sit in that place. Kevin shahamekomot miyuadim l'chol talmidei hayeshiva shava b'shava. Since every yeshiva bacher has equal rights of access to every single chair in the shir room. Aval im tofes makom lechavrusa shelo shetzarach lilmodi to biyachad. However, that's only if it's in the shir room, right, where it doesn't make a difference where each individual sits as far as affecting me. But let's say it's in the Beis Medrash, and I need to reserve a spot for my chavrusa so that we can sit across each other and learn together. V'laseit v'lateit ito b'divrei Torah, mutar lo litvos lo makom mishum shezeh lo nikra toifis lebal choiv. He says, so I'm not reserving a seat for my chaver, but rather eleketofes la'atzmo. But I'm reserving the seat for myself. Kevin sha'adam lo yochel lilmod b'li chavrusa, because a person can't learn without a chavrusa. Kamosha amru chazal o chavrusa o misusa. As our sages say, give me a chavrusa or give me death. Thomas Paine said, give me liberty or give me death. And in the Gemara, they say, give me a chavrusa or give me death, right? I'm speaking to a bunch of Canadians. You probably don't know what I'm talking about, do you? Okay. The Makor Baruch says that Rav Sharaga related that he heard this analogy from Harav Ben Zion Abba Shol, was one of the former Rishon LeZions. Umuter la'adam litvos makom la'atzmo v'lo la'acherim. So therefore, it is permissible for a person to reserve a spot for himself, but not for other people. V'zem mistoif lo rak litvos makom b'yeshiva. This is not just true for in a yeshiva. I'm glad he brought this analogy. Elegam b'ulam smachot. But you go to a simcha and you're assigned to a certain table. Oh, I'm sorry, these are all taken, right? So where am I gonna sit? There's limited seating, okay? Makom ba'autobus, a spot on the bus, right? Oh, because I got on the stop first, and I know my friend's coming on in 2 stops from now, so I'm gonna reserve a seat for her. Sorry, you can't do that. O litvos chumash b'makom she'ein maspik chumashim. Or to take, let's say, I'm going to take a chumash from the bookshelf when I get to the shtibel in the morning, but I know that there's a limited number of chumashim. So by taking that chumash, I'm creating a liability that someone else who comes in is not going to get a chumash. And that's not right either. She'ein adam rashai litvos listam adam al cheshbon mishu acher. That you don't have a right to take something that is going to create a liability for somebody else. Now, of course, in a place like our shul, we have an abundance of chumashim, so there's nothing wrong with that. No matter, even if we have a full shul, everyone will still get a sitter, everyone will still get a chumash. But let's say you go to a place where there's going to be 100 people cramming in, and there's only 50 chumashim. So by you taking a chumash, you're depriving somebody else who's coming from a chumash, so you don't have a right to do that. And that the other person, now this could create obviously this could generate really bad feelings, right? Because what could happen? I see a guy has got a stack of 3 chumashim sitting next to him. Minyan started at 8:30. I come in at 8:40. The place is half full. There's no more chumashim on the bookshelf. I come in and I say, I'm going to take one of those chumashim. He says, no, these are reserved for my son-in-law and my son who are going to be davening next to me. I say, that's very nice, but I'm going to be taking one of those chumashim anyway. And all of a sudden, a fist fight breaks out, okay, or something comparable to that, right? So how do you defuse the situation? So a gentleman would say, do you realize that what you're doing is halachically incorrect, and I'd be happy to show you after Shabbos? And he'll say, you're full of it, and I don't want to hear it. So at that point, you just have to walk away, because it's not worth it. Because the ben adam lechavero, negative energy that's going to be generated is not worth the halachic defense that you have for wanting to take the guy's chumash. But it is important for me to know that if I wanted to do that, or I wanted to save my friend a seat on the bus or at the table or something like that, I should recognize what is within my rights, not only from an ethical standpoint, but also from a halachic standpoint. Okay?
No difference from saving a seat or a lineup for your wife, same thing?
Well, does she qualify as your chavrusa? That's the question. In the Beis Medrash, I can't learn if, obviously, the people who are asking this question would never have that shaila because there's always separate seating, right? So, but let's say you're going to a mixed seating event. and the question comes up, I want to sit next to my wife, but they're one seat short. So the right thing to do is give up your seat for your wife and then figure out a way to have them pull up another chair to the table in some way. But there's no halachic right just because she's your wife to sit next to her. Yeah, that is very dangerous.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll hold it here for today. A meaningful Sarah B'Teves. Have a